Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Fancy Talk Show, a space where real conversation meets real solutions. My name is Fancy, and I'm your host. Today, we are delving into family law. As you all know, this is something that affects all homesteads, all parents, and every livelihood. So, with me is lawyer Mary Ann, and I'm going to give her a minute so that she can introduce herself in depth. And as we unpack this, I hope you settle in, have your notebook and pen, and get nuggets. Karibuni sana.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Miriam Kimani. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I have a Master of Laws and a Bachelor of Laws degree and a postgraduate diploma in law from the Kenya School of Law. Besides that, I run my practice in Thika Town, where we delve into and do and deal with a lot of family law matters, from divorce, maintenance, separation, mediation. We do everything, we do it all. Besides that, I also sit at the East Africa Law Society Family Law Committee. And what this committee looks to do, the biggest thing on the to-do list is to look at the laws and ensure that they are in tandem with societal expectations. Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to having an engaging conversation with you.
Thank you so much
Thank you
for honoring our invite.
Yeah.
So, we're going to kick off, and we will start on marriage itself. And maybe our first question will be, what are the most important legal rights and responsibilities that marriages create for both?
So when we talk about rights and responsibilities in a marriage setup, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Supreme meaning that no other law or regulation can come that will supersede or override what is provided for in the Constitution. So any law that is not providing for the same values that the Constitution enshrines, then that law is null and void. Okay. So when we look at the Constitution provides for equality. Equality meaning a man and woman in a marriage are equal. So this then spills over and then says that, or then means that even in a marriage setup or in a home setup, in a parent kind of setup, parents, a father and a mother sit on the same pedestal, they're on the same footing as man and woman. Nobody is more equal than the other. Okay. So that's the biggest right for people in a marriage, right? Yeah. And then you have then the human rights, protection against cruelty. All these are things that happen in marriage. So the human rights that are provided for in the Constitution are the same that would be there in a marriage. The right to acquire and own and hold and deal with property, that's also another right. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. And how can couples legally protect themselves before marriage? And when is a prenuptial, we call it
Prenup.
Yes,
Because
that's
a prenup. Yeah.
agreement advisable. And maybe you'll start by telling our viewers what is a prenup.
Yes. So a prenup or a prenuptial agreement in full is a doctrine or an agreement that is now becoming a bit more common in Kenya. So what a prenup does is it provides for or it foresees a separation or a divorce setup. And then what it does is to foresee what will happen in such a case. So in the case of a divorce and we have property, how will the property be divided? Just to avoid the whole messy situation that's created from people separating. So that's what a prenup does. It is advisable, if you ask me, and that's me thinking from a legal perspective and not a social perspective. Of course, we should be merging the two perspectives. From a legal point of view, like I have said, it's very advisable because then it prevents the murkiness that comes with divorce. I bought this property, or show me your contribution, or I didn't contribute. I got money from here and spent it this way, having to air your dirty linen in public. For instance, if, say you're a public figure and you want to avoid such a situation, the messy situation, obviously it's advisable to go the prenup way, right? I don't know if I have answered your question.
So, prenup
Yeah.
is what one had acquired prior
Good question. So a prenup will provide for both what one has acquired before and after. For
Okay.
purposes of, from a legal point of view, anything you have acquired before a marriage remains as yours,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Anything after marriage is open to discussion because it's open to, for example, contribution. You find people who, for example, buy property and decide, let's put this property in one of our names. Instead of putting it in both our names, let's put it in one name, for example, for whatever reasons. So yes, there's that perspective as well. Any liabilities you have before the marriage has come into being, they remain as individual liabilities. So if you have a loan before a marriage, don't think that a marriage will be your solution
to settle.
will be your way out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on that note, even though we have somewhere we cover properties,
yes,
there has been the issue of men. I don't know whether men are naturally selfish when it comes to property. You will find that men are mostly registered under properties.
Yeah.
And so in a scenario where women, because it's very rare to get, men who are men whatever, housewives, you say like house husbands, if you may call them.
Yeah.
So you tend to find that it has been really messy for a woman, and sometimes I feel when I try to follow, these legal cases sometimes, I feel like it has been unfair, especially to the housewife, where they are deemed not to have contributed.
Yeah.
So what would you say from a legal perspective?
So there has been a lot of judgments of late that have tried to define contribution towards property in the setup of a marriage.
Okay.
And the courts are leaning towards non-monetary contributions. So you find, for example, that as a housewife, you're charged with taking care of the children as the husband goes to look for money to acquire that property.
Yeah.
So we can't quite monetize the fact that the lady is at home taking care of the kids, but we can monetize that the man has bought property, for example, worth 10 million.
Yes.
So the court looks at that kind of non-monetary contribution. But you find, for example, that because the husband is acquiring this property, we decide that as a wife, what I will do, I'll be doing the house shopping. Okay? It's not, when you look at it many years later, you might not, or you might downplay that contribution. But without the wife taking care of the home, the man does not have the headspace. It's not settled. You don't have the headspace to be able to go look for money to buy that property, for example.
You are being made comfortable.
Yes, you're comfortable. Your what is it called? Your inconveniences have been reduced greatly. You're not doing house shopping, for example, so the wife is doing the house shopping as you pay off the loan for the property, and so on and so forth. So the court is now looking at such kind of non-monetary contribution, especially if it can be proved.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So what are some common legal mistakes couples make during marriage that can cause problems later on?
Yeah, so the first one, and I have mentioned it, I think in passing, is having matrimonial property not registered in the right way. Matrimonial property needs to have two names on it. We're in 2025, sincerely. There is no way you will agree to property that is matrimonial property to just have one name. And then when this one name or this one person has liabilities elsewhere, for example, say a loan, and they fail to pay, they have defaulted on the loan, then the creditors start to come for this property. Yes, that's where your kids live in. Right? So that's a very big problem. So I think in the rosiness of marriage, people just decide, let's just have it in one person's name. It's not about mistrust, it's about protection of what might, safety for what you might not foresee upfront. That's the biggest one, What else would I say is a mistake that people make? I think that's the biggest one. Even just downplaying your own right to own property as a woman is a big mistake. It's a big mistake. Another mistake I see in marriages is lack of information. You find that a partner is doing something without the other partner's knowledge. But when things go bad and the deal collapses, then it affects all of you. Yeah, yeah,
Before we move from that and maybe tackle divorce and separation, I think if there is a gender that downplays their role,
yeah,
it's the women.
yeah,
And I don't know whether it's because we are called emotional babies. So maybe when we are in love, we don't get to think about the other things that will take place. So I'd like maybe just for 1 minute
Yeah.
to advise women matters, even seeking information. I believe one can come and consult even a lawyer
yes,
and get to know, because when you're living with a logic person and you are all emotional. When those emotions are no longer there,
yeah,
things won't be good for these people who downplay their roles.
yeah.
So just a minute, maybe we even have men nowadays,
Yeah.
but mostly I think women are affected.
Yeah. You find that women are the most affected, although of late even the women are becoming smart. So you find then a man is also on the receiving end for some reason.
Okay.
I always tell people it's cheaper to consult a lawyer than it is to fix a problem that has come up and now needs legal knowledge or legal assistance, right?
Yeah.
It's so much cheaper to just seek legal advice. Even in the age of digital and AI and all those things, it's so much cheaper to just get a lawyer's advice or consult a lawyer rather than when things go bad now you need a lawyer and you're urgently trying to get one because now the demand is higher. So that's the first thing I would. That's actually the only thing I need them to take away from this vlog today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now on divorce and separation, lately we have very high, cases of divorce and separation. It's not something we can afford to ignore anymore.
Yeah.
And maybe my first question would be, what is the key difference between legal separation and divorce, and how does someone decide which option is best for them?
Okay. So the difference between separation and divorce is that in separation it's physical parting of people. People live in different homesteads and so on and so forth. But for a divorce, it's legal. It's on paper that you're now single. You were previously married, but now you're single. So for separation, the parties still remain legally married. So the marriage certificate is still valid and in place. But for separation, but for divorce, that's completely off, and now you divorced or you're now a divorcee. Yeah.
And what happens when people call habits, for example?
Yeah.
Maybe they have not gone the legal way, which starts from the dowry, right?
Yeah.
And they happen to have stayed for years, maybe a decade plus. Does the court, term that set up as a form of marriage, or it's purely just a cohabitation?
That is what it is. Cohabitation is a setup that looks like a marriage. It mimics a marriage, but it's not actually a marriage. So you can't go to court to seek a divorce if you're cohabiting.
Yeah.
There is nothing really to divorce from because it only mimics a marriage. It's not an actual recognized marriage. So there are certain marriages that are recognized under the Marriage Act of Kenya. Some are monogamous, some are polygamous. So, for example, if you're in a monogamous union, you can't seek to do a polygamous union or to conduct a polygamous union. For example, you have husband and wife one went to church, did a wedding, right? Then years later, husband wants to get wife two and pay their dowry. That second marriage is null and void. Okay. Yeah.
So even in a court setup, if anything happened, let's say even it's sharing of properties, the second marriage will not be considered. I mean the second arrangement. Now I can call it an arrangement, right?
Yes.
The second dowry, a man can go ahead and just do the dowry.
Yeah.
But in a legal way, it's not considered so long as there was a legal
So when we talk about marriage and property, there's two things. There's a distinction between what is a marriage and who can get property out of something that looks like a marriage, out of an arrangement like that. So, for example, if husband goes and conducts a polygamous union, pays dowry for wife two, and they get property together, and the property reads, say the title reads husband and wife two, then that's their property.
Regardless.
Regardless.
Okay, that's partnership.
Yes, kind of. Yeah. So they still get that property. Marriage is not, from the standpoint of the law, is not like a way to get property.
Okay.
Yeah, it still has the rosiness or the emotional meaning, if I can put it that way.
Okay.
So it's not a way to unjustly enrich yourself, right? Yeah. So to that extent, if husband and wife two get property together, it would be as if husband and his friend went and got property together and wrote their names.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. But if we were talking about marriage and divorce, these two people cannot be said to be married because there's already a monogamous union in place.
Okay.
Yeah.
What steps should the person take immediately after deciding they want to take to have a divorce?
What we normally advise our clients at Nyakiring and Company Advocates is we like to listen to our clients first, right? We don't rush for a divorce.
Okay.
We have a team of mediators.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we normally want to do is to understand the setup. Are there children involved? Is there property involved? Because if you have children and you have property, then it's a bit more complex to just separate and divorce.
Okay.
Because this is years worth of work that you're trying to undo.
Yeah.
So the first thing we normally try to do is to mediate the matter, right? Rather than proceed and just break the relationship, we like to mediate first.
Okay.
If we can agree on some things, what we can't agree on, then that proceeds to court. There's no need, for example, to proceed to court to decide on who gets custody of the children. Yet as husband and wife, you can sit and agree that you can have the kids during the school week. I can have them over the weekends. I can have them over the holidays for 2 weeks. You can have them for the other 2 weeks, and so on and so forth.
So that setup, for instance, sorry for
Yes.
going for that.
Yeah.
Is it, can you term it as a shared custody?
Yes, we can call it a shared custody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the matters that we can't agree on, for example, the properties that have sort of a push and pull, then those can proceed to court. We need not take the matter of the kids to court, yet it's something we can agree on internally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what factors typically make a divorce process longer and even sometimes very complex?
Yeah, so I've mentioned the issue of children. So sometimes you find kids who are too young. You find the level of life, what's that called?
Standard.
The standard of living that you have provided for these kids might go lower. For example, you find that you have a housewife and a husband who's working.
Yeah.
So if we are saying that the kids remain with their mom, where will they live? Will we maintain the standard of living? Right? You find, like, for example, the husband might want, might not be comfortable with a lower standard of living. So that complicates the matter. So anywhere where there are children, it's a bit complex. Where you have property, it's a bit complex because that then means how are we dividing this property. One person feels that the contribution wasn't there. The other one feels like my non-monetary contribution should be considered. You find also it becomes a bit complex where one party is aggrieved. So there are still some underlying issues that cannot be put in words. One party is aggrieved by the fact that they are now separating. They are not ready for the separation, but the other party has long moved on. So so those kind of things are what make it complex.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've come to a closure of our first segment, but before we close it, what one advice can you give to our viewers in relation to what we have covered?
Yeah.
One thing that you wouldn't want them to forget in relation to what we have just covered.
I don't want them to forget the fact that you don't have to rush to court to settle your disputes. All disputes are mediatable. Find a mediator, a certified professional mediator. try and mediate family issues, because at the end of the day, especially if you have children, they're the ones that carry the biggest burden. And unfortunately, this big burden is not something that we can quantify or touch, it's intangible. So if you can mediate, please, I highly advise people to mediate. If you can seek professional counseling, do so. Yeah.
I've just remembered of a meme that I saw
Yeah.
recently of a divorce proceeding that was going on. And it was really messy. But when the judgment, I think the day of judgment,
Yeah.
the two parties come with matching outfits.
Outfits, yeah, I saw that. And you've been in court for 3 years for a divorce. Yeah. The issues have already been solved by seeing each other in court, talking to each other.
So that was really funny. So to our viewers, I hope you have learned something, matters family law. We are not yet done. We will be coming back with our second segment. Meanwhile, we ask you to subscribe to our channel. Leave us a comment, like, share, because this affects all households. And I'm sure you have learned something, so make sure you don't learn and keep it. Learn and give it to your neighbors, to your friends. Educate your children, let everybody know matters family law. Till the next segment, bye-bye.